Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of CMO Conversations. I'm Claudia Tarico, and I'm the editor of Demand Gen Report. And I'm excited to have Nick Runyon with me today, who is the CMO at PFL. And we're going to chat about all things direct mail and beyond. Hi, Nick. How's it going? Thanks for taking the time.
It's always a pleasure. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Definitely. One of the first things I kind of wanted to touch on is we are particularly interested in hearing your perspective on some of these misconceptions that I've been hearing around direct mail and now, with most people working from home and, some people are saying, they have totally, stopped direct mail while others are still seeing success with it using preferred mailing addresses. So what are you seeing and what would you suggest for our audience today?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because it's one that we're hearing constantly. I mean, it's about noon here Mountain Time. I've literally had that conversation with 3 different customers so far today. So, but it's not, I don't think it's a mistake to question direct mail right now with work from home. We did the exact same thing. So when we started seeing everybody shift to a remote work environment, I told our team, stop sending because, for one, I don't want a whole pile of PFL stuff sitting at the office whenever people come back. Some of that stuff has perishable things in it. You don't want a rotting pile of stuff sitting there. And we didn't know in those about the first week, what we were going to do in order to find preferred, home addresses. What we saw was really interesting, though. Our meeting booked rates immediately dropped to less than 1%. So of all of our prospects, we sequenced about 2,000 prospects in that first week after work from home. And we only booked meetings with about 0.9% of those. In the meantime, our team was really working to figure out how do we gather preferred addresses and begin delivering tactile marketing to people at their homes. And when we figured that out and we turned it back on, we saw an immediate spike the following week, 5.7% meeting booked rate. And that's kind of like our measure for, filling the pipeline for sales. But in the few weeks since then, I just pulled those numbers again last week, we're up over 10% again. So I think it's appropriate to ask, what do I do? And what we're trying to let people know is that we've figured out how to do that, and it's yielding some really good results.
Awesome. So, can you share a little bit of that secret sauce? How can marketers really actually get people to opt in, and how can you make them feel comfortable about sharing this type of, it's personal information, it's your home address. So how are some marketers, or how are your clients, and how are you guys even tackling that?
Yeah, so we're kind of learning as we go, but then we quickly roll that out to our customer base. Working with, hundreds of the biggest brands, they're asking those same questions. What we found is that you have to use language, not home address, not give me your home address, but we start talking about preferred address. So what's your preferred address? And I think that different stages of the journey, the buyer journey, customer journey, are still incredibly relevant. So we've done a lot of work thinking about, and really in practice, figuring out if somebody's early in that buyer journey, they're going to be less likely to give you more information without some kind of demonstration that there's going to be value in exchange. So it makes what you're sending very important. It has to be valuable and relevant. But also, in addition to using language like preferred address, we found that it is really good to demonstrate to people that you're not going to be saving this. It's a one-time use type of opportunity. And so it doesn't override, the main address we have on file for you. It's just, what do you prefer for this experience? And then you're able to deliver that in that way. And we found that people are very comfortable with it. I think that was one of the concerns we had as well. Would people really be open to receiving, business communication to their home or to their preferred address? And we found that people are very open and very receptive to it. And I think it's almost a bit of a normalizer when everything else is kind of up in the air, is what we've seen.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of moving towards another interesting trend taking place in B2B right now is obviously this big spike in virtual events as a way to, supplement the gap in physical events. And you've seen some interesting ties in how companies are really combining tactile marketing and adding it into these virtual event experience. Do you have any background on that and any examples of how they're doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the event registration and attendance plays that we were running with customers in 2019 and earlier still apply in a virtual event context, although it's a bit more difficult because instead of sending or messaging an office where you can get a lot of people, you have to think about how do I get the key attendees on an individualized basis. But we've figured out how to do that pretty well. One of the things that we're seeing that works great is to help people understand that they can attend the virtual event, but beyond that online experience, there's a full event experience that's available to them. And when you message to event attendees or registrants that if you sign up by a given date or enter your preferred address and sign up by this date, kind of driving some urgency, not only do you get more registrations early, which is really nice for all of our event marketers. They're always scrambling at the last minute to try to, get more people to attend. So you can push that urgency forward and get more early registrants, but also you can have time to provide a full event experience. And we've seen people deliver snacks, deliver cocktail kits. Cocktail kits are really popular. I've received a few of those myself, which are great. Our own team has created a CMO book club. And so it's like an invite-only book club for CMOs where every other month we gather with the author of whatever book that we've sent out. And we have like a fireside chat type of conversation, a Q&A. Back to delivering value, like people have been very receptive to that because there's some clear value that they're receiving. But we've also matched that with a tactile component, of course, at PFL that has had great results, and people have been really pleased to be a part of it.
I love that. Yeah, I've actually received a few, over, the past few months of just, direct mailers once I registered for a virtual event. And I got, some people actually did like themed. So normally we'd go to this and this city for the conference, but now they're bringing the city to you in the box. So there was like different things like that. So I love that idea.
One of the things that we sent out to that CMO book club, and I'll just share it with you here if you care to see. But we obviously send the book. So that's a great thing about a virtual book club is that you send a physical book. So it's custom branded in the packaging and it makes people feel like they're part of something exclusive, and they are. But a lot of people, we're on these calls and everybody has their beverage. So we sent out some customized, branded, and personalized Yeti mugs along with the book. And what we found was what a lot of our customers are finding is that you can have an opportunity to create some social media buzz around this. So people are delighted by the experience and they're happy to take a photo and share that and, give a shout out. And it's really sparked some good conversation for us.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that recently, at least in the past year or so, I've been seeing the swag really kind of upping the ante almost because, it used to be just like a pop socket and things like that. But now stuff like Yeti, like really valuable things that it's even like helpful for the environment too, right? Is that like a concern for a lot of people?
It is, and it's a concern for us as well. As you know, PFL has we were founded in Livingston, Montana. Montana is a beautiful environment. We all live here because we like the environment. So we've been environmentally conscious from the beginning. Things like our facility is renewable energy powered. We are printing with environmentally friendly inks and chemicals and use 100% sustainably sourced paper in all of our products. We're also advising our customers on what they can do to reduce their environmental impact while still getting the benefit of delivering a remarkable brand experience, which requires some customization to be delivered and shipped. We have a whole line of products called the Creative Collection, which are designed to reduce use of like crinkle paper. Crinkle paper is actually really bad for the environment.
Yeah.
It's not easily recycled. Most recyclers don't accept it, even though it's still just paper, but it's densely colored, that kind of thing. So we've engineered some products that hold swag in place. Overall, it reduces the use of paper, and it's a more environmentally friendly option. But we mentioned before the value aspect. I don't think people want trash. Nobody wants something that's just a throwaway. And so we're really seeing customers make a move towards, how do I deliver you things that are valuable, help you do your job, have some staying power. There's other mugs on the market. We find that a lot of people like Yeti because there is a bit of some clout to it,
Mm-hmm.
And we get a good deal on those, and we pass them on to our customers as well. So
I love that. Another challenge B2B brands kind of wrestle with is what to send in a direct mail package. So we were talking about value and things like that, but is there anything that you could talk about and some of the different options or approaches that you've seen, especially around different phases of the buyer journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll share another image with you here. And I think this is a great example of what you're asking about. So Qualtrics is a customer, and as you may know, they are 100% focused on, they're an experience brand. And so delivering a remarkable brand experience is really important to them. And I think, just as a side note, we use language like direct mail, and you just talked about kind of upping the ante with swag. I think we're seeing a differentiation in the market. You can put anything in a box and send it, match a sports team, to a prospect and that kind of thing. But what Qualtrics really understood as a way to deliver value is that you create highly personalized collateral. You match that with a valuable gift option, and then it's personalized and orchestrated with the rest of your digital marketing strategy. And so it really is a true multi-channel experience. In the bottom left corner of the image here, you'll see something that they sent out for like a customer retention play. So they partnered with Porsche, and they had this Porsche experience for executives. So when this box shows up, it's heavy, it's beautiful, it feels good. The type of box material that we use is like a soft touch feel to it. Magnetic closure, you open it up, it's a personalized handwritten note, and a backstage pass type of pass for this Porsche experience. They coupled that with some marketing material in there and a case study for how they helped Dick's Sporting Goods. And all of a sudden, you've brought somebody into this. Even the invitation to the Porsche experience is a brand experience. Now, that's a high-end piece for a high-value prospect or existing customer. You see on the bottom right, we already talked about books. Most of the C-suite are voracious readers, and so books are always a great value add. Same thing with the personalization, orchestrating that with their digital marketing. But that's a less expensive option when people are maybe not as far along in the funnel. And so really thinking about your overall marketing strategy and where can a tactile marketing play be coordinated in order to find not only attention, but also movement in the metrics or the pipe that you're trying to move. That's, I think, the key to tactile marketing automation. And that's what we work with our customers a lot on. And as you can see here, I mean, the results were amazing for Qualtrics. 7.2 million in net new pipeline, 29x channel ROI on this campaign. So very good results. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, everybody loves to get a package. It's like Christmas morning, and especially if you're not sure what's inside, it's always, I can imagine it being very like a nice little perk, especially when these times when you're kind of home, either, by yourself, quarantining and things like that. So it's always nice to receive something. Any other unique trends you're seeing in terms of creative or impactful things of what companies are sending post-COVID?
Yeah, I think people are very budget conscious right now, and that's appropriate. I think as a business strategy, I know that we're being conscious about conserving cash, and so we're getting a lot of budget questions, frankly. I think there's still opportunity to create tactile marketing brand experiences at a lower cost. And we've done some really creative things with that recently. This is something I should have on my desk to show you, and I do not. But we've created some slide and reveal pieces. There's interesting things that you can do with paper to keep your costs down, but also make an interactive experience. Our team designed one recently for Spectrum Communications, which is a customer, and it's an infinity fold piece of paper. I still don't actually know how it works, but it's just a flat piece that gets delivered, and if I fold it apart, then it presents me with a new brand message, and then I can fold it vertically, and it's a new brand message, and then I fold it horizontally, and I'm back to the beginning. It's a really creative way to lead somebody through a sales story, but it's just printed paper. So I think budget-conscious customers are finding that there's a lot of things that can still be done to deliver that same experience, but keep your costs down.
I love it. And, PFL has obviously been a leader in tactile marketing and often emphasizes the importance of integrating direct mail into a multi-channel approach. Is that even more important in today's climate?
Absolutely. I think that, we talk a lot about ABM and multi-channel efforts, and the purpose of all of that is really to create a one-to-one brand experience so that you can capture your prospect or customer's attention and build a relationship. And I mean, and I always kind of throw out this disclaimer for my team. I said, at the risk of sounding like either too markety or too feely, it is about relationship. And so I'm fairly unapologetic about that. I think that in a multi-channel effort, when you orchestrate that well, what you can do is communicate to your prospect that they do matter. And really what they want to know is, are you going to help them win? And so if you can deliver that value proposition in a way that helps them understand that working with you is going to help them succeed, there's high receptivity to that type of messaging. And that's blending that in a multi-channel way so that that message is reinforced across every touch point is incredibly critical. But I think even more so now with some digital fatigue setting in, I think what we've seen coming out of companies like HubSpot and Google and some of the other industry analysts, the level of messaging that we're receiving digitally has just gone through the ceiling. And so being able to cut through that clutter with a physical touch point that reinforces the message that they might have seen digitally, I think puts that whole package together for brands. That's really key right now.
Absolutely. And I can imagine it being, extremely memorable. So even if it's somebody, that you're building this relationship with and they don't have the budget to immediately work with you at the moment, but when they're ready, they'll remember that relationship and they'll definitely, remember your name and go back to you when they are ready to purchase, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, you mentioned it's like Christmas morning.
Yeah.
Everybody loves getting packages. There's a 100% open rate for packages that hit my doorstep. And I'm sure the same is true for you. Normally I'll get home from work and there's, something on the doorstep and my kids are like, oh, you're finally home. Let's open it, and we'll rip it open. It's just like toothpaste or something that I ordered, but it's still like that moment. And I've had people comment, months later, they'll see us, it used to be at a show or something. This happened when we were all in Phoenix earlier in February. People are like, oh, I received this from your team and it was so memorable, and passed it around my office, and creating that type of experience is still incredibly relevant and available to anybody who wants to pursue that.
I love that. Right. Just a few more questions for you. I'd love to hear more about your role as CMO at PFL. How long have you been there? What have been some of your top priorities and key learnings so far?
I'm happy to be back at PFL. So I don't know if you knew this, but I was the head of marketing up until 2008. So earlier in my career, I led the marketing team when PFL was primarily an e-commerce printing company. A few years ago, we were coming back through Montana on vacation. I'd left in 2008 to go join another company in the Bay Area and have kind of moved around, but we were coming back through as a family and also kind of exploring, like, how do we move back to to Bozeman, Montana, which is where my kids were born, and we love it here. So we just stopped by to say hello, and I found out what PFL had done, where they pivoted into this software solution that integrates the physical and the digital for this incredible experience. And it really started this, what became a multi-year conversation with our CEO about coming back on board. So with that perspective, and to answer your question, I came back in October of 2019. But coming in with some history with the organization, I mean, honestly, you kind of know like where the skeletons are in the closet, you know, like I was coming back into the, half of the management team is still the same team that I had worked with before, which was great. That's a big plus for me. But I had to focus on moving PFL in some of the areas where I knew we'd been slow to move before. So those are things like branding, things like market positioning, and just I don't think we've ever been too strong on the promotional aspect of what we do. So like coming back in and saying, okay, let's help refine our language and create clarity around this new category that we've created. What do we say? How do we talk about it? Let's get our presentations solid and together. So that's been some of my focus in the first 6 months back.
I love that. And I had no idea that you left and then came back. That's awesome. And I'm still I'm dying to go to Montana, and I'm so sad that there's like no events now. So, because I know you guys have your event there, and I know my colleagues have gone. So I was like, when is it my turn? When is it my turn? But hopefully soon.
Well, listen, for you and really anybody else that's interested, it's an open invite. And whenever you start traveling again, we'd love to have you up and host you and show you around. So we'll do a little bit of work, but then we'll go play as well.
Awesome. I'll definitely take you up on that. So the title of the series is CMO Conversations. So I wanted to ask what kind of conversations you're having with your peers and other heads of marketing. Are there any, top questions that you're hearing, any priorities changing, even stress levels? What's going on in the CMO community?
Oh man, that's a heavy question because I think it's heavy times, Yeah. And actually, we dove right into it. This is one of the first podcasts I've done in like recent memory where we haven't started by just kind of expressing empathy and concern for our listeners. I mean, people are in an unstable environment right now.
Yeah.
And even within our own team, I mean, we have an office in Indianapolis as well. And Indiana has, more people and more cases of COVID than we have in Montana. And more than half of my team is located there. So I'm kind of walking this line between messaging a team in Montana that's had less pressure from the pandemic, and then the team in Indianapolis that has been 100% remote since March. And I'm hearing that same struggle with a lot of CMOs that I'm speaking with as well. We have to be much more thoughtful about our language. We have to be empathetic and considerate. We always should be anyway. I think we always try to. But now I think this is a little bit of an equalizer. Like we're all in the same boat. We all have the same concerns. My kids are asking the same questions at night, about are we safe? Those kinds of things. That low-level pressure or stress, I think, is beginning to really make itself known in ways that I didn't anticipate, where you have to kind of just keep stepping back and coming back to the same conversations. Like right now, it's about school. So a lot of working parents on my team are thinking, what am I going to do? What's that mean for my job if I have to homeschool for another semester? So I think those conversations are shared across your listening audience. It all comes down to this for us. I want people to be safe. I want them to be healthy, and I want them to be productive. And let's talk about what productivity looks like. And if we can accomplish that in any type of environment or any type of situation, I'm going to be incredibly flexible and help you do whatever you need to do and help you with that so that we can keep moving forward. Let's create a little stability on the job front when the rest of the world is shaking.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Well, Nick, that's all the questions I have for you today. Do you have, any final thoughts? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I'm really excited about B2B SMX coming up later this year. Like what are you guys planning? The event in Phoenix that I referenced earlier is one of our favorites. We love that event. I know there's always a fall counterpart in Boston, but what's that look like for us this year?
Yeah, so we're definitely in the early stages. So, B2B MX in Arizona was awesome. And it was actually from everybody that I speak to, is like one of the last events anybody really attended. So we still feel super lucky to have been able to still host it. But yeah, now we're diving in, and we really just want to, we understand the fatigue, the webinar fatigue and the virtual event fatigue. There's a lot out there right now. So we want to do our best and take this time to get it right. And really make it valuable for our audience, just as, the physical event is as well. So we originally scheduled for Boston in August for our second annual B2B Sales and Marketing Exchange, but we figured let's push it a little bit, and we're going to have a full-blown, beautiful online experience in October. So hopefully we don't disappoint. So stay tuned for any updates there.
Well, I know our team's looking forward to it. You guys always deliver a great event, wonderful speakers, good lineup. So we're expecting the same, no pressure, but I know you guys will come through with something great.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Nick, again, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. Thank you to everyone watching, for tuning in. And I hope to see you all soon in person at an event or virtually, whatever that is. Stay safe, everyone. And Nick, thank you so much again.
Thank you, Claudia.